It's that time of the year again. I'm giving my top 10 Atlanta Braves prospects based on upside. And we're starting today with prospects 6 through 10 and got several hitters that might surprise you in today's rankings. We'll discuss all that on today's episode of Locked On Braves. So let's get into it.
You are Locked On Braves, your daily Atlanta Braves podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, and welcome back to Locked On Braves, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your favorite Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I am your host, Jake Mastriani. You can follow me on social media at ShortstopBall. Also, make sure you check out my written work over at BravesToday.com. Make sure you follow the podcast on social media at LockedOn_Braves. Send in any questions, comments, or feedback that you have for the podcast. Always enjoy hearing from you. If you're new on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. I'm over 8,800 subscribers on YouTube now, so getting close to 9K, trying to get to 10K by opening day. You want to help me get there, hit that thumbs up button so other people can see the show and hopefully join us here in this great community we have at Locked On Braves. You're listening on the audio version. Thank you so much for your support as well. You can leave me a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to Locked On Braves. I want to thank all of you who continue to support me here at Locked On Braves. It truly does mean a lot to me. I see all your comments. I try to get to just about every comment on YouTube, whether it's on YouTube, Twitter, wherever it may be. Thank you so much for dropping those comments and kind words. I really do appreciate it. If you're an everydayer, let me know down in the comments section below. Not doing this one live today. I typically do a lot of off-season episodes live, but as you can probably tell, a little bit under the weather here and don't want to have to keep pausing so that you have to see me blow my nose. But I'm glad to be able to do this and talk about the top 10 prospects in the Braves farm system. I love doing this every year now, third year that I'm doing it here on Locked On Braves. So excited to get into those rankings. Before we do, though, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. And we are getting started here with my top 10 prospects in the Braves system. You've been keeping up throughout the offseason, every Minors Monday. Typically, I've been looking at a couple of prospects that I've done a deep dive on, going back, watching video. As I always say, I don't have a lot of time during the season with what I do here at Locked On Braves and other places, just keeping up with the big league team. So I really enjoy getting into the offseason, watching a lot of these prospects that I'm hearing good things about, and then being able to bring those to you during our Minors Monday during the offseason, and then putting that all together with my top 10 prospect rankings. Now, if you are new to the show, maybe you haven't heard one of my prospect rankings shows before, I rank my prospects purely on upside. What if they hit their 90th percentile expectation? What if they become the best version that they can possibly be? Taking out risk and all of that involved, what is the best possible outcome for this player? That's how I rank them. So you may see my rankings a little bit different than a lot of other people's, although from what I've seen from other places, my top 10's pretty much going to be about the same, pretty much the same players, but maybe ranked a little bit differently. But that's how I do my rankings. What if they hit their best possible outcome? What if they hit their ceiling? That's how I put my rankings together. And I'm doing a little something different this year as well. This season, or this time around, I am not including any prospects I haven't been able to see visually with my eyes on video or in person. I'm not including any prospects I haven't seen yet. I've done that the last couple of years, just projecting based on things we've heard, but I'm not doing that this year. I'm leaving off anybody that I haven't been able to see playing full season ball. So essentially anybody that hasn't made it to single A yet, I am not including in these rankings. So probably, again, why my list may be a little different than others out there. Before we get into my 2023 list, and this will be a 2-part episode, 6 through 10 this week, and then we'll do the top 5 next week, likely with Lindsey Crosby on here joining me like we did last year. Let's look at some of the past lists. I said I've done this 2 times now. 2022, I had Kyle Muller at number 10, Jared Schuster at number 9, Freddie Tarnok at number 8, Ryan Cusick at number 7, and Vaughn Grissom at number 6. Also had Christian Pache at number 5, Drew Waters at number 4, and Shea Langoliers at number 3. What is crazy about that is all of those players have been traded. My 3 through 10 in 2022 have all been traded, which is crazy to think about. But you know who the top 2 were? Michael Harris and Spencer Strider. Something I don't think this Braves front office gets enough credit for is correctly evaluating their own players. I mean, you look at that. That's a top 10 where almost everybody has been traded. 8 of the top 10 have been traded. And the 2 that they kept, Michael Harris and Spencer Strider, are now big parts of their major league organization. I think that's going to be important as we talk about this year's top 10 and the 2 guys at the top that they are apparently very hesitant to trade right now. But I just think that's wild. I didn't even really look at that until I read this here with you as I'm recording. But that is pretty crazy. Shea Langoliers, Drew Waters, Christian Pache, Vaughn Grissom, Ryan Cusick, Freddie Tarnok, Jared Schuster, and Kyle Muller were my 3 through 10 in 2022. They are all traded. And the top 2 are locked into long-term deals with the Braves. Last year, 2023, had Dylan Dodd, Jared Schuster, Adam Mayer, Owen Murphy, J.R. Ritchie, Ambiorus Taveras, Ignacio Alvarez, Spencer Schwellenbach, Cole Phillips, and A.J. Smith-Shawver. So took some shots last year, obviously with Meyer, who we still haven't seen pitch, and part of the reason why I'm not including those types of guys in this top 10 anymore. Ambiorus Taveras as well, somebody that hadn't really seen much of. I don't think we had seen him at full season ball before this past year, and I put him up there in the rankings too. So that's part of the reason why I'm not going to include those guys anymore until I can see them on my own. Otherwise, I'm just going based off other people's evaluations. That's not how I want to do this. I'll give you other people's evaluations sometimes, and those are very good. And obviously, a lot of people out there in the industry know more than I do, but these are my rankings. I want to give you what I'm able to see with my eyes. So that's why I'm no longer including guys like that until I'm able to see them. And I'm not giving up on Taveras, by the way. He's not going to be in my top 10 this year, but that glove is super smooth. If he can get it going with the bat, and I've heard good things that he's doing this offseason, talked about it last year, seemed like he was just continually changing up his bat and his mechanics. So hopefully he gets that settled in. We'll love to see him take off in 2024. But that was my rankings for last year. Dylan Dodd's still in the system. Schuster's gone. Owen Murphy, J.R. Ritchie still in there, obviously. So a lot of these guys still there. But Cole Phillips, I had number 2. That's how high I thought about him. Same thing there. That was strictly based on upside, things I had heard and read from other people, but didn't actually get to put my eyes on him. But I still think a lot of Cole Phillips in the trade that the Braves made to get Jared Kelenic, probably, really an unforgotten part of that deal. I think the Mariners got a really good prospect there if he can get healthy. All right, let's jump into 6 through 10 for this year's top 10 prospects. We'll start at number 10. And this is going to be the one that probably surprises the most, and I'm probably going to be the only one that has him in my top 10. But this is the guy I fell in love with doing my breakdowns during the offseason, and that is Sabin Sabios. 9th overall pick from this past draft out of Oregon, 6'3", 225, 21 years old, listed as a catcher on draft day, but played third base exclusively with Augusta, played some outfield in college as well. So not sure exactly where he's going to play. I would love it if they keep that versatility up. Just my quick view of him didn't look great at third base, but I think he's going to play in a corner, either in the infield, outfield. It'd be interesting to see if they keep him behind the plate. But what stuck out to me the most was just the swing. This seems like a very confident hitter. Seems like somebody who can have a lot of power. His pro debut with Augusta, just 9 games, /300, 440, 375, a home run, 9 walks, 14 strikeouts, and 2 steals. But I just love the swing from this guy. Very strong lower half. Feels like his approach, he's built to cover the outer half, react in. But I saw him take some balls the other way. Again, it gives me that Ignacio Alvarez type of feeling, and I'm not obviously not putting him over Ignacio Alvarez. I'll have him later in my rankings, but it's just one of those bats where I watched it same way I did Nacho, and I said, this kid looks like he can hit. It looks like a very good hitter. I think this is going to be a sneaky draft pick for the Braves. There's going to be a group of hitters we're going to talk about today that really, I think they're all kind of in a similar tier. I'd maybe put Ignacio a step above some of these other hitters we're going to talk about, but Sabios is one I'm really excited to see a little bit more on. I said I'm only going to rank players that I've been able to see with my eyes. I got to see just very little with Sabios. I'm very excited to see more of him in 2024. The future for him, I think if he reaches his potential, I think it's a 260, 270 hitter with, I think, 20 plus home run pop, 20 to 25 homers. And if he can throw in 10 steals and be a 20-10 guy, like I said, either playing a corner outfield, corner infield, especially if he can do that as a catcher or DH, I think it could be a very solid hitter. I mean, again, I don't think we're looking at an all-star here, but I think he could be a very solid contributor at the big league level if he reaches his ultimate outcome. But I want to see more of him. If you come into 2024 and he just goes off like I think he might, he's probably going to go up these rankings, but I really just didn't have enough of a sample size to go off of to really go crazy with this one. And again, I'm probably going to be the only one who has him in my top 10. The next two hitters, a lot of people are probably going to have in their top 10, both taken in the same draft. That's David McCabe coming in at number 9 and Drake Baldwin at number 8. As far as McCabe goes, not sure where he plays in the field either. Might be a possible first or possible DH, but switch hitter with really good pop to all fields. One thing that really impressed me with McCabe, his ability to just take the ball the other way. Takes his walks as well. Had a good showing in the AFL, an on-base percentage over 400 there, showing that good plate discipline. Need to see more consistent power out of him. You know, that was his carrying tool coming out of Charlotte, just a big power. We didn't see it in a short sample size for his pro debut after he was drafted. We saw it at the beginning of 2023, then it kind of tailed off towards the end. So I'd like to see him be a little bit more consistent with the power, but he's somebody I think at his ceiling's a 260 hitter, close to 30 home run power. I think he's probably more to 25, 30 home run power and really good on-base percentage as well. So I think there's a very bright future there for David McCabe. I've seen people go back and forth, McCabe, Baldwin. Honestly, I could go either way. Like I said, this group of hitters right here, especially Baldwin, McCabe, Sabios, I think you can put them all kind of in a similar tier as where I don't think any of them are all-star level talents, but I think all of them had the potential to be really solid contributors at the big league level. Baldwin, somebody we saw fly up the ranks last year, got all the way to AAA. I don't love the stance. I don't love the swing. This is one, honestly, I have him ranked this high just based on consensus. This is one where I am just kind of taking stats at face value. I'm also taking what other evaluators who, again, are smarter than me are saying, and a lot of them have Drake Baldwin ranked ahead of these hitters, but just visually, when I watch Drake Baldwin, I don't love the swing. I think there's some holes in that swing. I talked about one when I reviewed Drake Baldwin. He has a pretty big hole down and away that he just is not able to cover, but he does put up big exit velocities, and we saw that in the small sample size we got to see at AAA where we had baseball savant data to look at. He has some big exit velocities that are likely going to lead to some power. I think, again, similar to McCabe and Sabios, I think it's a 250, 260 hitter. Maybe he has a chance for a little bit more bat than that. Like I said, I'm not quite sold on the hit tool because of that swing, but depending on where he plays, if he's a catcher, maybe 15, 20 home run power. If he's a DH or position player, maybe 20 plus, and an on base somewhere 320, 330. So I don't know where he sticks. If he sticks behind the plate, he's still really, too young to determine if he can catch or not. I was not impressed with the arm from behind the plate, the few throws that I saw in game, but again, very young there, can work on that, and we'll see. I mean, he's already reached AAA. Is this somebody they could be grooming to be the backup once Travis d'Arnaud leaves? Be very interesting to see what they do with Drake Baldwin going forward. They continue to develop him behind the plate, but that tier right there, Drake Baldwin, David McCabe, Sabine Sabios, I put all those hitters kind of in a similar tier. I think they all have the chance to be pretty solid major league contributors at some point. Getting to two more of my top ranked prospects next. We'll get into 6 and 7 rather, and then I'll also give you some honorable mentions, those who just missed out and those who I said I haven't been able to put my eyes on yet, but are probably going to be top 10 level talents. We'll discuss all of that here next. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is always what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. That's ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available in U.S. customers. And one time, make sure you go on over to ebaymotors.com and keep that ride or die alive. I want to remind you that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Want to continue our countdown of the top Braves prospects, looking at 6 through 10 on today's episode. At 10, we had Sabios. And then at 9, David McCabe. At 8, Drake Baldwin. And I told you all those guys kind of grouped into the same tier for me. And next, we're going to look at our first pitcher. And a lot of people think of all the Braves prospects and how many pitchers they have. But I got 4 hitters here in the back half of my top 10. Spoiler alert, top 5 are going to be pitchers. But starting to see some more position players come into the top of the Braves system. At number 7 is Owen Murphy. Now, as somebody, first round pick a couple of years ago by the Braves, so certainly comes with that lofty expectations. But even when the Braves drafted him, many people thought, this is a safer type of floor pitcher. And I think that's what he is. And I said this when I talked about him and I did my breakdown. He's not exciting. And I don't want that to be any type of detriment, towards Owen Murphy. He just goes out and gets it done. And it's a low 90s fastball, but it has life in it. I saw a lot of swings and misses with that pitch. He plays a big, slow curveball off of it, which makes the fastball play up even more, even though it's not a higher velocity fastball. So it's a really good fastball, curveball combination, a decent slider, control over stuff type of guy, but he does have really good control. I think he has a ceiling as a third starter. Again, he's very young as well, so perhaps there's an opportunity for a velocity uptick. And if that happens with the secondaries that he has, which are good, I'd call the curveball plus, slider, like I said, just good. I don't know that I'd call it a plus pitch, but the fastball, even in the low 90s, because of the way it plays off that curveball, I would consider it a plus pitch. So you're looking at possibly 2 plus pitches and a slider in there as well, and good control. So this is somebody who I think has a ceiling as a number 3 starter if you were to put it all together. And like I said, maybe find a little bit more velocity on that fastball. But I think he's maybe the safest bet in this top 10 to reach his floor as a back of the rotation type of guy, 4th or 5th starter. I think that's what Owen Murphy can be. There's other pitchers like this outside of the top 10 who I'll talk about that I think have a pretty safe floor as a back of the rotation guy. But I think Owen Murphy, more than those guys I'm going to talk about, has the potential to be more than that, to maybe reach that mid rotation type of ceiling. So that's why I put Owen Murphy here at 7. And then at number 6, probably guessed it, already kind of hinted at it, is Ignacio Alvarez. You know me, you listen to the podcast since he was taken 5th in the 5th round in 2022. You know how much I love Ignacio Alvarez. I still have him as the top bat in this system. I'm putting him slightly ahead of that other tier, although I don't think it's as big as it was last year when I had Ignacio Alvarez ranked a little bit higher. I had him ranked 4th last year, 5th this year, so dropping back just 1 more spot for me, or 2 more spots actually. That's not really anything against Ignacio Alvarez, more so just the level of talent that the Braves are bringing in here. Still very much love the bat of Ignacio Alvarez. 116 games last year, all at high A Rome. He slashed 289, 395, 391, 24 doubles, 7 homers, 66 walks to 87 strikeouts, and 16 stolen bases as well. Kind of struggled down the stretch. Again, I talked about this when I did my breakdown of him. Hit 266 in August with just 3 walks and 16 strikeouts. Hit 269 in September, 7 September games with 5 walks and 7 strikeouts, just 3 doubles and a homer over those 2 months. So I think probably a little bit of maybe some wear and tear, maybe tiring a first full season. But before that, I mean, we're seeing everything that we thought we would see from Ignacio Alvarez. The hit tool is certainly there. There's two questions really with Ignacio Alvarez. Does the power come around? And I think this upcoming season is going to be a big one for Ignacio Alvarez to see what that power potential could be. Starting to get up there, likely going to, get up to AA this year. That's obviously a huge jump for any prospect, but certainly a hard league to develop power in. But he's going into his age 21 season. Would really like to see that power tick up a bit. And that's really just a big question for him offensively is, can he become a little bit more of a power hitter, especially if he's going to move to a corner. You especially want to see that. If you're going to keep him at shortstop, then not as big of a deal, because I think even right now you can easily project him for 15 home runs a season as an everyday position player. 7 home runs last year over 116 games, but just a 107 ISO. Isolated power. So you want to see that tick up for sure. That's definitely something to watch with Ignacio in 2024. This is a season you really want to see that power start to tick up a little bit, but he's going to be trying to do it at what I think is one of the biggest challenges for minor league players is making that jump to AA. The other big question is, where will he play? Braves have played him primarily at shortstop right now. I think that's more so out of need. They know there's a future need at shortstop, and there's just not many great options in the farm system right now. I think he profiles better at third base, but we've heard glowing remarks about him at shortstop so far. Does have very quick hands and a good arm, but I just really am concerned about the lack of range for Ignacio Alvarez at shortstop. I don't know that he'll ever be able to have the range to be, even an average to above average shortstop defensively. But the bat is legit. I think he's going to be a really good bat. I think he's somebody that can hit 280, high on base, 340, 350 on base, 15 to 20 home runs, 10 to 15 stolen bases. I think that's what Ignacio Alvarez could give you. And I think he's the best bet of all the hitters I mentioned today to reach that ceiling. And I certainly think he does. Love Nacho. I would love to see him develop at shortstop. I wish he would become that guy. It's hard for me to see that based off the looks I've had with him defensively at shortstop. All right, next, I want to talk about those who are just outside the top 10 and players I haven't seen yet that will likely have a chance to be in the top 10 next year. Probably is going to be on a lot of other people's top 10s going into 2024 and at the midseason mark for sure. We'll discuss all of those here next. I want to remind you again that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. All right, I want to end our discussion here about the top prospects. Next week, again, we'll do 1 through 5. I'll go a little bit deeper on those, but excited to kick things off here going over 6 through 10. But I want to mention some others as well who got left off. Those just outside the top 10 that I was considering for those last few spots, Drew Hackenberg and Cade Keeler from this past draft. Both of them have solid back of the rotation potential. I probably like Hackenberg a little bit more, that fastball slider combination. I think he can get hitters out with that pitch if he can develop a third one. I know he's got a cutter that he used that I talked about in his breakdown. If that can come together, maybe a changeup off of that as well, I think he's somebody that has the potential to be a really good starter. If not, I think he has a chance to be a really good setup guy as a reliever. So I like Hackenberg and Keeler a good bit. But like I said, kind of comparing those two to Owen Murphy, who I had ranked 7th, I think Owen Murphy just has the safer bet to reach his ceiling. I think both Hackenberg and Keeler, while I think they could be back in the rotation guys, it's hard for me to see them reaching mid-rotation potential. And I think Owen Murphy still has that and is a safer bet to hit that potential. But those two were really the two I was considering outside of the top 10. Players I haven't seen yet that will likely be in a lot of top 10s you're going to see coming into this season. Luis Guanipa, Jose Perdomo, a couple of international signings from the past 2 years. They should probably be in the top 10 just based on upside and potential. But again, I'm not putting them in there until I'm able to see them myself in full season ball. But you're likely going to see those two in a lot of people's top 10, and deservingly so. There's a lot of upside with both of those players. Adam Meyer, who I mentioned, somebody I had in my top 10 last year, we still haven't seen him pitch. So really hard to project him at all at this point, but hopefully we see him in 2024. Garrett Baldwin's another one. 2 innings he did throw this past year, and I did watch those, but just not enough for me to go off of. But he's someone I could see shooting up the rankings. Big pitcher with some big stuff that could, like I said, with the full season of pro ball coming up year, is somebody that might shoot up a lot of rankings. Mario Baez and Isaiah Drake are both young players with a ton of potential. Wasn't a very good pro debut for Isaiah Drake. It was a great DSL debut for Mario Baez, but those are 2 young players who, again, have a ton of potential. I hope we get to see them in Augusta this year. If we do, and they go off like I'm hoping, there's somebody, again, who could shoot up. If Blake Burkhalter comes back as a reliever, he's someone just to keep an eye on that can move through the system quickly as he's coming back from Tommy John surgery. He's somebody, again, if they want to go use him as a reliever. There were talks of trying him out as a starter when they drafted him out of Auburn, but if they want to go the reliever route, coming back from Tommy John surgery, coming out of, like I said, Auburn, already being kind of advanced, he's somebody that can move quickly and really impact the bullpen. I mean, I hate to put this on him, but even as soon as this year, I think he's that good. I think he has that type of potential. So I'm really interested to see what they do with Blake Burkhalter. And then a last one here that I'll mention, John Gill. If he makes the jump up to Augusta, I think, and get shouts to Chris Clegg, who really brought him to my attention. He is somebody that, if he gets to Augusta this year, he's a really athletic-looking kid, and I'm interested in seeing what he can do in full season ball. So those are some other names to keep an eye on that I think are really good potential prospects that I'm excited about, but I just haven't been able to get my eyes on them in full season ball. And once I do, I can't wait to see what they can do on the baseball field. So could look very different next year. This is a very exciting farm system in my mind to look at, with just the top 10 that I'm going to go over here and those that I just mentioned that are likely top 10 worthy based on upside, but we just got to see it happen on the field in order for them to get into those rankings. So that's the list of my players. Let me know who you're excited to see in the comment section below. A little bit of news from over the weekend and Monday. You got the Hall of Fame announcement coming out this week. It doesn't look like Andrew Jones is getting in. Last I saw, he was around 71% of known ballots, and typically once the unknown ballots come out, you see those percentages drop even more. So hard to see him getting to that 75% this year. Hall of Fame voting continues to be a mess. I've kind of just given up on the Hall of Fame really the last several years with what's happened with the steroid people who are on the ballot and just the confusion that's brought into it. These people sending in blank ballots. You got people taking Andrew Jones off and putting Mark Burley on their ballot. It's a complete mess. Now, the people who are projected to get in, Beltre, Maurer, Helton, Wagner, those are all very deserving. I can't understand how you don't put Andrew Jones in. Maybe he has some off the field stuff. I know he has some off the field stuff that maybe rub some people the wrong way, but if we're starting to keep people out based on morality, then we got to take a lot of people out of the Hall of Fame already. But either way, you're just looking at the on-field performance from Andrew Jones. He's the best defensive center fielder, certainly of my time. I would go on a limb and say ever, but I haven't watched all of baseball for ever time. But I think he's the best defensive center fielder I've ever seen. I'm not the only one in that camp. And he hit 400-plus home runs. I've said this from the beginning. If Ozzie Smith is in the Hall of Fame strictly for being the best defensive shortstop of all time, I don't know how you don't put Andrew Jones in, who is one of the best, if not the best, defensive center fielder of all time, and plus has over 400 home runs. I don't get it. Like I said, unless some people are just holding back some votes because of off-field issues that he has, I don't understand how Andrew Jones is not a surefire Hall of Famer. Colin McHugh also announced his retirement this week, 18th round pick that scuffled until he found it with the Astros in 2014. And how many pitchers have gone to the Astros and figured things out? After a couple of injured seasons, though, didn't play in 2020 because of the pandemic. He then found the Rays, who turned him into a dynamite reliever. How many people go to the Rays and they unlock some things? And then he found himself with the Braves and was really good in 21 and 22, and then just unfortunately for him and the Braves fell off the face of the earth this past year. Had a terrible year with the Braves. But a good career for him overall. Again, somebody who scuffled to begin with, really found himself later in his career and put together some really good season, including a couple with the Braves. And then Anthony Rendon apparently doesn't like baseball and went on record as saying that the season is too long. And, well, that's probably why he only plays 30 to 50 games a year as it is. I remember that signing and everybody talking about Anthony Rendon as just the safest free agent signing that you could have health-wise, everything that comes along with him, coming off a World Series victory. It has been one of the worst signings in Major League Baseball history. And unfortunately, the Angels have several of those. But interesting quote there from Anthony Rendon of the Angels. By the way, if you've forgotten who he is, go look him up. He used to be a really good player that played a lot. Now he doesn't. And now he wishes that Major League Baseball played even less. So interesting stuff there. But thank you for riding with me here on Locked On Braves. Apologize for the voice coming over this. Hopefully we'll be able to get back live on a Wednesday's episode. Then we'll have our mailbag podcast on Friday. Things are really quiet right now, obviously, as we're getting geared up for spring training. Pitchers and catchers less than a month away. We're going to go back to 5 episodes a week at that point. So looking forward to that. But if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to Locked On Braves on YouTube. Wherever you're listening, audio version, make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe to the Locked On Braves podcast. Follow us on social media at LockedOn_Braves and at ShortstopBall. But until next time, we will talk to you then.